Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Carl, and I always seem to get questions from the audience at the comment section from my Twitter asking about how do I create my own study schedule. And in this video, we're gonna go over the 5 steps you can do to start creating your own study schedule. So let's get into it. Step 1 is to create a timetable. So before anything else, first thing is to find how much time you have to prepare for your exam. Now, for example, when I was preparing for my physician board exam, I had around 90 days from the day that I decided to start studying seriously for my exam. Now, next thing I would do is to create the outline of the table. I put the current date here and I work myself from there, and then I draw the lines or the timetable for the days and weeks that I have left before the exam. Step 2 is to place the date of the exam on the timetable, which is the very end goal of my preparation or the thing that I'm working towards. And remember that this should be written in big fonts and highlighted with colors that will make it stand out. So you will always be reminded of how many days are left before your exam. Step 3 is to fill up the dates with pre-scheduled events. After you do this, you want to fill each slot or date in the timetable with events that are already set to occur within that schedule or your pre-scheduled event. So for example, for me, on this date, I have planned this to be the day when I will be collecting all my documents and go through the application process to be able to take the exam. Now, another example is on this date, there's a scheduled summative exam that will be given by the review center where I was enrolled at during that time. And so I would also have to block that date. And so in this step, you just have to place every pre-scheduled event that will happen on a specific date within the study schedule. Step 4 is to fill in the rest of the timetable. So now that the fixed parts or the pre-scheduled events of the study schedule have already been set or written down, now let's go to filling in the rest of the schedule. Now to do this, I count the days between the current date and the exam day. So in this example, that will be 90 days. But keep in mind that you shouldn't be using up all of the days yet, because it's important to leave up to around 1 week as a time buffer for unexpected events. And we'll discuss more about time buffers later in the video. Now, since there are 12 subjects for my board exam, so that will be 7 days to study for each subject. But this doesn't mean that you will strictly study a certain subject for exactly 7 days, because there will be subjects that are easier for you or you're more familiar with, so maybe you can study them for less than 7 days. And on the other hand, there will be topics that you're currently weak at, so maybe you can devote more days to that subject. And after deciding how many days to assign for each subject, next is to find out which subject should be the priority to study first. Now, actually, there's really no hard and fast rule when it comes to deciding which subject should be prioritized. But what I do is I start with the subject that I'm weakest at. So for example, if I want to study physiology first, I would then list down the topics and chapters that I have to cover for physiology, and then place each of those topics onto each of the days that are allotted for that subject. Now, this creates a sort of time constraint to the task on hand to get you going, and seeing it clearly this way will make you feel more in control of the schedule and feel less anxious. And also by doing this, I can now track my progress, and I would then know how much work I have done and how much work I have left. And tracking and seeing my progress this way also helps with my motivation to continue studying and finish everything on my study list. Now, to be completely honest with you, most of the time I fail to meet my own deadlines, so my study backlogs tend to pile up. And whenever the same thing happens to you and you see that you can't seem to catch up with your own study backlogs or you're lagging behind your schedule, then maybe you can speed things up a little or move certain topics around. And when you see that you're just right on schedule, then you can just continue with what you're currently doing. And the last step is step 5, which is to create a time buffer. Now, once you've placed all subjects onto the study schedule, don't forget to set aside 1 week as a time buffer. And this is to account for unexpected events or if your schedule doesn't go the way you planned it to be. So in these cases, we just have to learn how to adapt to those things. Now, another purpose of the buffer is to give you more time to answer past exams and practice questions, because doing a lot of practice questions is the only way you can assess if you really remembered a lot of the things that you just studied. And it also gives you an idea of what sort of questions usually come out in the exams and what topics or concepts are frequently tested or high yield. And these will tell you where to actually put more time and focus on studying. If you like this video and you would like to know more tips about studying, check out this playlist over here, which has all of the tips I have for studying in med school. Now, thank you so much for watching, and do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and see you in the next video. Bye.